All right, today we officially welcome you to Flipside. We want to embark on an important conversation, shedding light on a topic close to our hearts, and that is suicide prevention. At a time when mental health challenges are increasingly prevalent, it is vital that we'll come together, listen, and offer support to those who may be struggling in silence. So join us as we explore the unique facets of suicide prevention in Nigeria, discussing both the challenges and the potential solutions that can save lives within our communities. Together, we can create a safe space where understanding, empathy, and effective strategies prevail. So stay tuned as we delve into this critical conversation on Flipside. Joining me on the show are two very renowned resource persons. I have a consultant psychiatrist from the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Benin City. I'm talking about Dr. Osaitin Oye. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And then there's this other mental health advocate. She's a nurse, a very beautiful one. You saw her during the Youth-Tide when we were telling you all not to pressure yourself. All right, I have Emekolum or Biagelo. Did I get it?
Of course, you got it right. It's nice to be back here.
Yeah, it's actually my pleasure. So we're going to talk about this, and we're hoping that we can help a lot of people on the show today. If you've been following the news recently, there was a lady who works in the bank that took one of this insecticide. I don't want to mention the name, but it's a very popular one and it's very easy to get. And she took it, she had a suicide note, and she passed on the floor of the restroom in the bank where she worked. On the note, she said her decisions were wrong, she was tired and all that. She apologized to her loved ones, but the point is she took her life. And those people who came around, some on social media, you hear people say, she had a job. What about me? I don't have a job. But you earn her and you don't really know the extent to which she was going through whatever it was that made her end her life. And we've had several stories like that, and several doctors too who've committed suicide, and it made headlines. And there's even the one before this was of a young guy who borrowed money to play one of this online betting, and he lost the bet, so he killed himself so that he won't pay back and all that. So it's not a new issue, but it seems to be on the rise. It didn't used to be this bad, because in Benin, at least I can speak for Benin's, if you kill yourself, they won't do a proper burial for you. And I don't even think you'll be buried, like, they won't dig the ground and put you in. You have to do some rites. You make a family go through so much before they do a burial. So most people don't even talk about suicide. It's very coded. But now it's just like you go through any pressure, you just kill yourself. So I'm going to be starting with you, Dr. Oye. What would you say could possibly be the reason why we're having such prevalent cases of suicide in our society?
I'll begin first by saying that suicide is intentionally killing oneself, ending your life intentionally. It's purposeful action, and you started an action with the intention to kill yourself. Now, a lot of things could be associated with it. What we see are the suicides that completed suicide. There are several persons out there that have attempted suicide, but in one way or the other, they survive. Those skated, some survive. Maybe you don't hear about those, but most of the ones that come to the hospital are those that attempted suicide and survive. Okay, but those that completed suicide end up in the mortuaries. So let me give a clear example of why some people attempt suicide. Let me give one of the simplest one recently that we were treating a while ago. A young lady attempted suicide, and luckily she survived. So they took her to the medical center where they were able to revive her and brought her back alive. And then the doctor now referred her to a psychiatrist because of her complaints. Her complaint was that she was 23 years old and she was bedwetting.
Oh.
All through her primary school, she was bedwetting. They've tried every method. No longer eating only afternoon food, morning and afternoon food. No night food beyond 4 or 5 o'clock. No water. Tell you to go and wee by 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Mommy will come and wake you up by 12 to go and wee. And before mommy come by 12, you have already bedwetted. She went through primary school, went through secondary school, went through the university because they had to go and rent a room for her off campus where she was staying alone. Managed to be hanging her mattress in her room and managing never to receive visitors inside the room but outside. After a while, she struggled to treat it, take several medicine, herbal, whatever method she was aware of. Eventually, she went for her NYSC. At the camp, she had to be using adult pampers to survive. And for 1 year in NYSC, she was buying adult pampers secretly at night, especially when she was at the camp. She had to be wearing the pampers. In her room, she has to go and rent a room during NYSC. Then she came back. Now she has come back. How is she going to continue with this? She can't go and visit auntie. She can't go and visit her boyfriend and mistakenly sleep. So it was a painful life, and she's been to some doctors who she felt didn't do enough. And the family have tried everything. So she just felt that, how long can I continue like this? It's time to end it. And so eventually when she came, you mean the only reason you want to kill yourself because of that? He said, is that not enough? Actually, she didn't, this time, she didn't say a word. So by the time the family gave this, I said, you mean the reason you wanted to end your life is because you bedwet? She was quiet. I said, okay, fine, no problem. We are going to give you a tablet. You'll begin with 2. Eat what you want to eat. Drink what you want to drink. Come back in a month's time. If you bedwet, let us know. If it is not enough, we'll increase it. She didn't say a word, and then she left. Came back a month's time, said for the first time in her life, living her normal life, she was able to bedwet only thrice in a month. To her, that was a miracle. We only increased the tablet to maybe 3 at night. See you in a month's time. Came back in a month's time, said no. Continue the medication. I've not seen her for 3 years now. She's doing well.
Dear God.
Now, stress is not just about what happens to you. It's how you perceive or how you see or how you feel about what is happening to you. Practically, you are not the only one that is going through challenges or difficulties. If some persons were to tell you the problems that they have, you may even put your hands in your pocket and dash them the little salaries that you have. I remember one of my friends told me that somebody was owing him money. He got angry, got to the person's house. When the condition he met the person at home and the situation of the man and his family, he has to bring out money and started supporting the wife and the children. And I will give dash the man some money. Wow. By the time the family are now asking why he came, he didn't bother to say why he came back again. That was the last time he asked for his money. Even though the other house leader said, oh, I did not say I owe you money. He said, no problem, forget it. So it's actually a function of how you see what you are going through. So people can have various reasons, but the major thing is, how do you see your problem? And that's where the perception of your difficulties. And that's why I will say that feeling of hopelessness is a crucial factor that can lead to stress. It's actually at that point where the individual feels that there is no more hope. So let me end it all. That's when suicide severally is attempted. However, no, there are different types of suicide.
Okay.
The suicide bomber is not thinking, the one that wore a vest, is not ending his life because he's tired. Okay, they have different reasons for that. So for the purpose of our discussion, we will not be talking about those aspects.
Exactly.
We'll focus mainly on those who are going to attempt suicide based on their perception of the stress or difficulties they are going through.
Okay, so I will just go back to the question I asked initially. I really love how you've broken this down, but so are you saying this particular generation, we perceive things to the extreme compared to the way it used to be, and the reason why there's an increased rate? or it's just maybe because we are now talking a lot more about it, and maybe because of social media is maybe, I don't know, maybe the cases haven't really increased. It's just the publicity that has increased.
As far back as 2006, when I began my residency training, we were talking about suicide. A prof in Ibadan and her team researched suicide and suicide attempt in young children between the age of, I think, 9 to 16. And they brought out the statistics of suicide and suicide attempts that I felt were not possible. It was very high.
Yeah.
We felt that it was impossible. So now when we are now seeing it, I think that one of the major things about suicide that is making it even more is the awareness. Awareness is increasing, social media reporting is increasing, and it has made it appear as if the rate or the incidence is getting more. But no, that will not take away the perception that it is not just social media or the rate of identification of suicide. I think that the social milieu we live in have changed. Family ties have broken. People feel more hopeless based on the challenges we face. Unlike those days where there are more communal lives, you can relate more with people, you can talk more with people, and you don't tend to bear your burdens alone. So our society has changed, which may actually make it more easier. And also come to think of it, suicide appear to be even much more now more acceptable than before. When we were growing up, you still remember that pure water. The first time I heard of suicide in Benin was a pure water man, that committed suicide. It was like a taboo then, and I remember some palace chiefs on television, they were showing it on television, how some palace chiefs went there, or some people went there to go and clean the house and the ceremony. And
they still do it till now.
If they were going to be doing it in Benin today, they will be doing it nearly every hour, based on what we are now seeing. So I think the society, apart from the awareness, the stigma has, you know, even according to the Nigerian law, if somebody attempts suicide and is caught, rather than being treated, he will be arrested and jailed.
Yes, interesting. In fact, I think that's even a big problem that we will get to. Well, let's talk a little bit about the mental health education in Nigeria, because it's obvious it's a mental health issue. Depression, stress, all of those things are from our brain. Now, Obiajulu, you are a mental health advocate. So how much of the mental health advocacy do you think we have on cases like this, on suicide, which is like the end of the old depression talk, and how effective is mental health education in preventing things like this?
Okay, thank you so much. First off, I'll just say the awareness has greatly increased, unlike before. Like now, everybody knows what mental health is. Even if you don't have a complete clue, you must have heard about it. And thankful for technology, social media, it's not easy to pass information to people. But it's not enough. It's not enough. We still need to do so much more. And I thank God that people are rising up day in and day out to talk about mental health. You know, this bedwetting that our doctor just spoke about. Yeah. I went for a conference in Ekiti last year, and after I finished speaking with the secondary school, it was organized for secondary school students to come in to discuss, you know, prepare them for what they're about to expect. Because unlike before, this communal relationship that people have are no longer there. People are seeking of ways to interact, to express their emotions, their feelings. You know, it's not as close as it was before. A lot of disconnect has been rampant right now. So people are looking for ways to hold on to things, to hold on to their mental health, hold on to their sanity and themselves. So they are seeking for ways of how any best way they can get that done. And after speaking to them, a boy came to me, because we have section where we have counseling sections and thereabout. And he said, "Ma, please, can I speak to you?" I said, yeah, what is it? He said, "Ma, I've actually been bedwetting. and I've been writing my WAEC, and I don't know what to do. And while he was talking, he was crying. It's a boy. This boy should be around the age of, let's say, 16, 17. And he's already having this kind of intense feeling that probably the parents are not even aware of. Families, they're not aware of. They can't see it. Most likely, maybe being bullied or being talked to in the house, you know, or there's this silent information of it's not supposed to be. But nobody is seeking solutions for this boy. Even if they are not passing the message to him that they love him despite whatever is going on, and they are still looking for any possible means to help him. He's not getting that message. He's not getting that message. So when he came to me and he spoke about it, and I just said, is there anybody around you that we can connect with? Because I don't stay in Ekiti, to just an outreach. I stay in Benin, and I was supposed to leave the next day. Is there anybody we can connect you to, like if you can't speak about your parents, okay, what about your uncle, your auntie, you know? And he said, there's nobody to talk to. There's nobody to talk to. And I said, this is something you can just go to a psychiatric hospital, that drugs will be given to you, and you'll be fine. And I'm happy doctor just use that exact example. So that kind of situation of that child, he's growing up. He's going to get to the age of that same girl. And he's going to also feel alone. He's going to go through that experience all his life. And this is a man. When he gets to a point where his girlfriend needs to come in, at least a girl, you can say because of religion, oh, I can't come to the house because my religion doesn't support it, and look for a way to, maneuver your way. But as a man, how can you tell your girlfriend not to come to the house to stay?
You could still be religious.
Or how can you tell your friends that want to play a computer game or want to come visit you or want to spend time with you, you tell them to stay outside your door and don't come in? It becomes strange. The pressure is even more.
For a man.
For a man, it's even more. But this boy right now, this adolescent right now is going through all this. And there's nobody to talk to. So the beautiful thing about it, the creating of awareness is on the increase. Wow. Because of that now, that child, that boy right now is going to go somewhere and send that message to help another person. Wow. Because we're able to send him to good hands even before leaving. So when it comes to awareness, I think it has come to a point where it should be introduced into the curriculum as a must. It should be introduced into the curriculum as a compulsory subject. It's not something, an elective, either you take biology or Greek, no. Because these are things that people face real life, real time. You can say they are children. Children will grow and become adults. An unstable youth will become an unstable parent soon. An unstable child will become an unstable adult soon. And everybody are entering into the society. Your child that you are taking to school is going to meet another child there. You will not be there to know what is going on.
Yeah.
So it's high time the curriculum adjusts itself to accommodate this mental health as a course on its own. And even in the university level, it's not something you drop after secondary school. I don't agree with that. It's something you carry on and continue to talk about. Even when we go for a conference in Uniben, because I graduated for Uniben, so I'm being called for conferences sometimes. When we go there, the most question I hear is, Ma, does the counseling department still work? And I am shocked, because the counseling department is still functioning. And most times when they have, when you come to school for the first time, there's this program they organize for all new students to come. Most times they don't attend. And that is the truth. They don't attend. So they do not even know the facilities that is there for them to utilize. But they are there. This equipment have been put forth for them to enjoy. But they don't know.
And we need to do more to let them know.
Exactly. We need to do more to let them know. And most of them are also scared of issues of the stigmatization of, if I say this now, how am I sure that this thing will not be on air tomorrow? We've seen people, even while sleeping, their pictures are on net the next morning. We saw a recent one, I saw it on Instagram, I saw it on Facebook. If I see it everywhere, where they are abusing the girl of she slept and forgot herself and she's having issues with her body, you know, and the insults keep going on and on, and influencers are using her to talk about this, talk about that, and make money, and forgetting that this person is a human being.
Yeah. Interesting.
And at the end of the day, there are still the same people that will come online and say, oh, your mental health matters. It's high time we start talking to ourselves. Apart from waiting for the teacher or lecturer to come in front of the class to educate us, first of all, let's talk to ourselves.
Exactly.
I think that's the best education to do for ourselves.
Let me add something to it on the societal issue on mental health awareness. One of my friends, also a consultant psychiatrist, told us a story. He grew up in a polygamous home, and then he passed his wife in flying colors. His own stepbrother failed wife totally. But after he passed his wife, he noticed that anytime he picked his book to read, he'll be feeling tired. He'll be having headache. He'll be having eye pains, weakness, a sudden feeling of being overwhelmed with problems. He was no longer himself. He cannot sleep. He was restless. So one day, he was listening to the radio. His mother started accusing the stepmother of attacking
spiritual
the son
attack.
because the other stepmother's own son did not pass. It became a problem in the family, and they started taking him from one native doctor to the other. He said that they will go there, and then they will say, whatever they put on you, he said his t-shirt, all his clothes, after beating him with he goat and the others, they will throw away that shirt and that boxers. Then he say all his shirts went with native doctors and the other. So one day he was listening, he now heard one of our professors in Ibe talking already about brain fog syndrome that happens to students after some intense study. He now went to his mother and said, those things that Prof was talking about already is what is happening to me. Master, you are not a crazy, you are not going to psychiatric hospital. He said he suffered for 3 years at home. He couldn't go further his studies or anything. He was just useless. Then his elder sister was married and in Lagos. So he said he left his community, his village, and went to see the elder sister. He just knew that he cannot discuss with the elder sister. So the elder sister was a lecturer. He said he still couldn't talk to the elder sister. So he now went to the elder sister's husband and sat down there with the man and begged the man, please take me to psychiatric hospital, I'm suffering. The man outside said, yeah, please don't tell anybody this is man to man, it's boy to man. Please just agree. Let me try what they are saying over there. So let me see, because I've suffered too long. He said the man now took him to Yaba Psychiatric Hospital, sat down with him when he was talking, and the man was patient. As an in-law now, I better not let anybody know. So he went, took the medications, went for the second clinic, third clinic. He became so well that he thought, wow, this is me. When he was now well, he now went back to the village to want to meet his mother and say, I'm fine now, I want to do my jam. What did he do? His brother started. Did I not tell people to take me to psychiatric hospital? People say, no. He went to university,
shout it up.
became a doctor. Today he's a psychiatrist. He's a consultant psychiatrist. Those experiences is what made him to become a consultant psychiatrist. He said what he went through made him to realize that he needs to do more better. This week somebody came, he had a feeling of internal heat, feeling of restlessness, cannot sleep at night. It got to the point that he thought of ending his life. Yeah, they kept on telling the husband, the whole family. His friend now advised him, why not go to psychiatric hospital? They treat what is not only madness or anything. This problem may be a problem, but you have taken medicine, not work. He said the husband now told him, you're not a crazy, you're not to go anywhere, you are not going. However, last week, Monday, there was a head show by the medical women at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital. So they were giving a head talk, and they now advertise that psychiatric hospital is not only for mad people, but for even, we now even have places in the world where we do normal delivery, immunization in another aspect. So when the husband now word and asked, okay, fine, that they do this, okay, you can now go. So he came. She told me herself. Now there is a lot of stigma out there that prevents people from seeking help from their challenges. People are going through stress and they are thinking of ending themselves. They are not even thinking of seeking for help. professional help. Why? Because of the stigma, or because of that belief out there. I'm not mad, I'm not crazy. That's the only thing they know. Where you know that is where you can seek help. So you now see a lot of people going through difficulties. Some will even attempt suicide. And even when they attempt suicide and they survive, they will take them to it is the doctor in those hospitals that will now force them to come before them. Then even then you see some when they eventually come, the relatives will say, my pikin not the mad, not the crazy. So he only just this, Mona just give us, Mona do it now they do. We know they come here again. They are telling you straight to your face that they don't want to come here again because of the notes, the assumption that it's only for mad people that you handle. You see, we need to just talk like this. I like coming to talk like this to improve a lot of persons' awareness about health, mental health. But let me also say something. The knowledge about health generally in Nigeria is so poor. There are women that I said have attempted suicide. They practically kill themselves. Do you know that there are women now who are pregnant, they will not register until a month of delivery? You are looking at yourself.
No, I didn't say anything.
I managed, many years ago, a woman was pregnant, 8 months pregnant, or already, she was around 38 weeks pregnant already due in medical terms. And she came with a BP of 180 over 110. That was bad. I told her, Madam, we will stabilize. That was many years ago. Madam, we are going to stabilize you. Or give BP, and then we must bring out this baby.
Yes.
He said no. We can, at that level, we can try and attempt a normal delivery. I said, we can bring it down. We will admit you. He said, no, I believe. In my presence, she picked up her phone and called her pastor. And I said, Madam, you're also talking to my pastor too. We can pray, we'll do it. No, first of all, said she will call the husband. The husband came and they were discussing. This is a woman that came to the hospital by 8 o'clock in the morning. By 10 o'clock, we have not made any decision. We'll be begging her. By 11, she said, my pastor said we should come to the church. She walked away. At the gate of the hospital, she started conversing. My God, that woman did not know where she was till 4 p.m. in the evening. And she was like, wait. The husband was now the one shouting. I said, well, God, I told you by 8 o'clock, let's start this treatment. You said no. There are a lot of people all across several fields that are attempting suicide because of ignorance and poor health awareness. The one that is hypertensive that refuses to take his drugs. The one that is diabetic that refuses to take his drugs. Those ones that have chronic medical ailments that refuse to go for help. They are actually attempting suicide. Yeah, we need to make people to be more aware that, you see, going to the hospitals is not a death sentence. Going to hospital does not mean that that you are a lost case,
yes,
or that you don't have faith, or that things have become so bad. I see somebody still boasting, all my life I've never been to the hospital, and these guys are above 40. I said, what's your PCV? What's your blood pressure? Have you ever done your physical checkup? He said, no. I'm up. And if you continue, you are not a stone, you are a human being. For God's sake, I tell people, take care of your health.
Okay, we're going to quickly go on a break now. And this break, we have this video because this is going to lead me to my next question. I don't know if we're doing enough to really prevent this whole suicide thing in terms of handling dealing with stigmatization, and also dealing with people who drive others to depression because they're chasing clouds. Let me use a Gen Z term. Or because they're looking for social media money. Even pastors, my guest mentioned someone say, I've never been to the hospital for a long time. Their pastors will stand on their pulpits and they brag with that, and the members want to tap into that grace and experience same level of faith, and they don't go check. There are women who deliver babies and the churches do not allow them to have blood transfusion, or they don't even go to the hospital to have these babies. You go to church to deliver. I know some churches like that, but let's not mention names. And we've just been thinking about those who use a noose, hang themselves, take a particular object to hurt themselves. But we've known now that if you even have a medical condition and you're not trusting it, you are attempting suicide. So interesting. I have a consultant psychiatrist with me in the studio. I'm talking about the person of Dr. Osaitin Owie. And I also have a mental health advocate who is a nurse, and that's Obiajulum with me here in the studio. And together we're talking about suicide prevention. So quickly, Obiajulum, I'll talk to you now. Do you think we have enough as regards the government are doing enough to deal with preventing suicide? Now, it's not just about the mental health advocacy programs, because there are very few adverts on television sponsored by governments on suicide prevention or depression and all of that stuff. And there are few billboards in our state. But how about taking it further? We know government has a law of putting you in jail for attempting to kill yourself.
Yeah.
But what more can they do to also ensure that those who drive you to that state are being dealt with? What suggestions will you give to government as regards prevention of suicide?
Thank you. You see, this issue of people committing suicide, it didn't start today. It has been on, and I will keep saying it. Thank you for social media that has created more awareness about mental health. Just like our doctor have said before the break, health in general, it's very poor, especially in Nigeria. It's extremely poor. The awareness about health is poor. Someone who's having minor issues will tell you, the Lord will do it. There's this idea of the Lord will do it. And because of this, even the government, I think it has eaten into the government a little bit, that they don't really consider the importance of health. I know they do a lot. But most of the things that drive people to commit suicide are the hardship of the country. When someone is unable to handle all the pressure and they are telling themselves, I can't anymore, I can't do this anymore, I can't do this anymore. The last patient we had in our organization, Enough Family, was someone who was robbed of her money, her business money, everything she had. She has a child, a son, she's a single mother. She has a business she's handling, which was that POS business. And she has a rent to pay at that time that was already due. The landlord of the place already saying, leave my house. A lot was already happening backstage of her life. And this again is happening to her. There's this pressure of, let me end it here. So I think, first of all, the government should do so much. We are crying day in, day out. It's not all about mental health. It's about the situation of the people in the country. The country has hit the rock bottom. I don't know how much we are still going to go down, but I believe that there's so much they can do to help us. I'm talking about the hardship of the country. Because much of this suicide that we see now, the ones we are privileged to see, I would say, because there's so much happening, the ones we are privileged to see are impulsive suicide.
Driven.
They're impulsive suicide. Someone that has, it might be through financial distress, it might be through heartbreak, it might be through broken home, it might be through academic failure, so much. So I feel that so much we can do as a country, because I always say we can't keep waiting for the government. We are the government. We are the people. We are the government. There's so much we can do for ourselves. And that was why I ventured into mental health advocacy, because I found out that in Nigeria, subconsciously, we are told to bottle it all up. There are some words that are not said in our country. You know, they'll say, if you want to know a good child, it's a child that understands the eye of the mother, not the words that come out of the mouth of the mother. So there are so many words that do not come out from the eyes of the mother, right, that the children already reads. So it's high time the mother starts talking out, please. I want the mothers to start talking. When I meet mothers, figuratively, right? It's time they start talking, and it's time the children start talking back and responding and airing their grievances, because there's so much people are going through, and there's so much stress someone can endure. Everybody have different threshold of handling stress. But your threshold and mine is totally different.
Right.
What you could take might not be what I can take. You might see stories now and you're saying, why would you bother killing yourself? For what now? Have you, just like you're talking about the banker that committed suicide and left a note. Everybody's saying, you have job, I don't have job, you have this, I don't have. There are so many backstories. It's just that we are not exposed to it. But there is so much the government should do. I think the first thing is to, first of all, try to elevate this hardship in our country, Nigeria. The hardship is too much.
Interesting.
It's too much. It's too much.
Dr. We need to talk a little bit about identifying people with these suicidal tendencies, just in case they refuse to seek help and we are near them and we want to force the help on them. So we need to know how they act, how they do. And some people could even be suicidal without realizing. You mentioned one that even me, I didn't know. Like you are hypertensive and you don't take your drugs, you're suicidal. But are there other ways, tendencies, or things they express that can make it easy for us to know them?
Thank you very much for that question. We have a lot of things going on in our society that sometimes we ask ourselves, how do we identify people who has suicidal tendencies? The first question will do that. Over time, you said somebody committed suicide. You didn't want to mention the chemical. Somebody uses drug. You don't want to mention it so that others will not learn.
Get it.
Studies have repeatedly shown that asking people about suicidal intent does not increase the chances or rate of suicide. If possible, it's rather negative. So how do you identify somebody who may plan to commit suicide? Is by asking. So sometimes some people will come to us and they are going to just ask them, have you gotten to the point where you feel that this life is not worth living? It's better to end it than to continue. Some will tell you, yes, I've thought about it, but I've not done anything about it. Some will tell you, several times I just wish I would just sleep and not wake up. So also we just tell you, doctor, I didn't need you to know. Do you know that one day I just went on top of the bridge, I was about to jump. It was God that saved me that day, I did not. So asking individuals who are going through stress about suicidal attempts or intent is very important. It doesn't increase their risk of doing it, but rather it brings it to the awareness that I can talk about it now. So studies have shown that it doesn't increase the chances. So one way we can actually be aware of suicidal intent is to ask. This person that you have observed that is going through an unusual difficulty, somebody has been talking, crying, which accent? Have you feel so bad that you've gotten to the extent that you just be thinking, it's better, somebody that is dead is better than me? If he says yes, you can now probe further with one question or the other. It goes a long way to be able. Although there are other risk factors, the sex, males are more likely, females may have more attempted suicide or deliberate self-harm, but completed suicide are more with male. The age, commoner in those that are younger than those that are elder, depression, okay? It's also important that you go around all these individuals, even sicknesses. Chronic sicknesses can make people prone to attempting or committing suicide. So it's important that, but like I will say, for us as psychiatrists, our key is asking the person. By the time we are asking questions about, and he keeps on giving us challenges upon challenge, you get to ask why you stop. So have you ever gotten to your mind, or do you ever got to that point where you feel that even those that are better, that dead, are better than you? He answers the question and says yes. Or have you ever attempted suicide before? Have you ever thought about killing yourself? Or have you ever thought about it? Say yes. Have you tried it before? Say yes. So I tried it too. I went to go and buy this chemical. I looked at it. I now remember what my pastor preached, and I did not try it again. So that tells you that this one might even try it again. So the treatment, the therapy should be more intense.
Interesting. Okay, and on a final note.
Sorry, let me add to what he said.
Okay.
As an advocate, you know, he has spoken like a doctor. But you and me, we are closer to these persons. We see them day in, day out. So I want to give you a trick on how to identify them yourself, to bring them out, to shock them out of that mood, or be around them during that space, right? Someone who starts isolating themselves. They isolate themselves from everybody. Someone that you know usually is the happening person, the life of the party. And there's something you should also know. Most people who even commit suicide tend to be more happier because they've gotten to a point where they're like, oh, now I've made my decision. Between next tomorrow I will be no more, so let me just have the best of this day, or let me have the best of this month, let me have the best of this. When their behaviors and attitudes begin to shift from the usual that you know, if the person starts isolating themselves, if the person that you know that is going through so much pressure, so much difficulty, and yet you see this person so happy, jubilating, it's not a sign that the person is very strong. Vulnerability is a good thing. In Nigeria, we are being told, be strong, be strong. But no, vulnerability, I always preach, is a good thing. It is not something to be ashamed of, because when you become too strong, sometimes you break. You get to a point where you break. So please, this is something you should also look at for people. And someone that you always find out that they start smoking, drinking, the level, yes, they start abusing drugs, abusing some nicotine.
Yeah, just,
you know,
I think
these hard drugs and drink a lot of alcohol, because when they are not in their right senses, they tend to do things even without thinking.
Interesting.
And one of these things they can do is commit suicide. At that time, everything becomes rationalized. There's no form of guilt. There's no time to think about what am I doing? Is it the right thing? So when you see them drinking, smoking, it is not because it's a Jay-Z thing or I'm the happening guy of the party. There was a story a few years ago of Miss Something that committed suicide from the hotel she was and jumped down. And at that point, everybody was wondering.
And you're a queen.
Hey, queen, you have the best life. What's going on? How? She goes for occasion, she goes for ceremony. You know, she's always looking happy and beautiful. What happened? What happened? We are all shocked, because we were carried away with what we were seeing. We were not paying attention to what was happening.
Yeah.
So it's time we start paying attention, because there's so much you can do before you bring the person to the hospital. So before you can even get the person to the hospital, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be assumed as a mad person or a suicidal person. It's a lot of guilt. Nobody wants to deal with that.
Okay, I know we've really talked about the need to see a psychiatrist a whole lot in the course of the discussion, but on a final note, I need a word for the families that are usually left behind. You know, when you lose a loved one, it's a lot to cope with. People can even kill themselves because they lost someone. Now, I think it's even worse in cases where this person killed themselves, because even the family needs to also deal with some sort of stigmatization. I don't think there's any child who would gladly tell an intending spouse that my mother killed herself. You know, it's something you bury, you hide. So what words would you give to the families and the friends of people who've committed suicide? Maybe on how to cope, and just general word.
Thank you very much for those questions, and it's very important, because a lot of them have a feeling of guilt. They now start blaming themselves that, oh, I didn't do this enough, I didn't have opportunity for resolution or to actually have a time to talk with this. No, we usually help to guide them through some period of grief. Initially, they go through a denial. Oh, this person, no, this guy cannot die. Initially, later they get angry. What's wrong with this God? Why? And later, they go through the process of bargaining. Oh God, if you could do this for me, if you can bring this person, like, oh, I'll get later depression and later acceptance. One thing we need to know is that this person has made his or her decision. And that decision was to end it at that point in time. you need to get over it yourself and accept that this was this person's decision to do what he or she has done. You could do a lot more for yourself by also taking care of your mental health and not allowing your grief and your guilt to overwhelm you, making you prone to other psychological disorders. Like we said, the perception of problems is a very important thing, and sometimes it's very difficult for us to know how people see their problems unless we ask. And one way we can actually, now everybody is busy. You leave home by 7 o'clock, sometimes you don't get home till 10. People do 2 jobs, 3 jobs, they don't have time to attend to each other. But whenever you have opportunity to talk to somebody who is going through difficulties, always take time to ask them, how do you feel about what you are going through? Because it's not just enough to discuss what the person is going through. Your own problem may be worse, but he may be seeing his or her own much more than yours. Because that will now introduce you into the person's personal space so that you can make a difference. So, and while other people are gone, you yourself also need therapy because you are close. You need to have time for yourself to resolve your challenges, your difficulties, your good feeling. Oh, this person told me I didn't do enough. Or this person, yeah, I saw the signs, but I didn't do enough. You need therapy. You need to answer to yourself and get over it so that you can live your life. And one thing I keep on saying that person has made his or her decision to end his or her life. You too, you need to make the right decisions afterward so that at least that death will not be traumatizing to you. If in the short run, but at least not in the long run. Thank you.
All right, I want to say a very big thank you to you, Dr. Owe, and a very huge thank you to you, my beautiful nurse of Viagilum. It's been a very interesting discussion, and for the first time in a long time, I got another view. You know, I'm seeing a different face to this entire topic of suicide, at least even if I didn't learn anything, which of course I learned a lot. I know now that if I neglect my help, I'm suicidal. So if I don't need that kind of attachment to myself, I have to take very good care of myself. I cannot be suffering from diabetes and be taking carbonated drinks just because I like the way it tastes. So there's a lot more than those who have access to lethal weapons. And these lethal objects are actually easily accessible in our society today. You want to get them, you will get them at very little cost. So we all need to put our hands on deck to address this, to prevent these cases of suicide from increasing. Government should start prosecuting those who use their contents to drive others to depression. If you put a picture of a child on your social media page on a negative story, yes, there's some sort of persecution, but even if it's an adult, so someone's sex tape was released and so you just feel you should put it out there. We adults should also start learning to sue big blogs. Let's still be making money from our bad issues. But in all, suicide is a very sad case. The sad topic is a very difficult situation for both the person who finally got to the point of killing his or herself, and even for those that are surviving. It's just, we need to help each other. Let's support one another, and I think we'll be better for it as a society. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week with another topic on the show, Flipside. Have a nice day.